It's time for how to start your wall with consideration for long-term investment per dollar value while collecting the latest and greatest orc models for your next wall. So it's time for smart collecting orcs. Let's get stuck in, lads. So things to consider, taking into consideration right now with this, we'll be starting with a combat patrol. You'll be starting off brand new. We're assuming with this video, you're a very new person. Maybe you got an Armageddon box. But with this example, we're going to be using the latest and greatest, newest combat patrol per dollar value consideration, but also more tips that we're going to break down as we go through this video. But take in mind the money that you're spending with what I'm suggesting. Modern sculpts, meaning that they came out newer than later and are likely to endure the addition change. I'm not going to be suggesting anything that's up in the air for new models or sculpting. These models that I'm suggesting should endure for the next codex, and there will be alternatives that are considered that if they are maybe aren't the newest but are still newer in the grand scheme of the orc codex. Key units, so roles that you will want to consider when you're building out your wall, and the units that I can suggest that you can lean into at least until the newest model kits come out, and then you can also obviously tap into those. We know that things like Ludas, Knobs, Mega Knobs, Burner Boys are possibly all getting new kits. Therefore, those models will not really be taken in consideration in this video for that reason. If you get them secondhand, then of course you can substitute them for anything else that I'm considering. But for these key units, modern units, and per dollar value units, I'm going to take all that into consideration and then end it off with a 1 to 2K list for a example. So I'm going to start with a 1K, and then from the 1K, it's going to build again into a 2K. So it's concise with your money, concise with your units that you're trying to play with, and synergy. And then you can also build out into different archetypes with these units and models, and how I'm actually suggesting that you start collecting them if I were to maybe start now, right? Because it's expensive and it's hard, and I get this question all the time. So hopefully we can make it easier here. Now, for value in modern sculpts, we're going to start with not only the newest combat patrol, but we're going to take into consideration old combat patrols. Of course, there's a 10th edition start collecting box. Combat patrol box, which is 20 Beast Snagger Boys, a Squig Hog Boy unit, and a Beast Boss. These were greatly pushed models because they pretty much just came out in 9th edition, which is new in the scheme of 40K or Orks. So if you do lean into this, and you know that we have forced dispositions, the latest one that's been suggested with the sneaky forced orcs actually applies to both Snagger Boys and normal boys. With the amount of dispositions and detachments we're going to get, it means that there's likely that even if you're mixing stuff like a stagger line, it's going to be able to supplement whatever you also favor, even though this is a newer model kit. Or if you go into the even somehow find a older kit, you can of course consider that too, which is still out there. Epic characters, most of the epic characters that are out and that I can consider right now are the newest kits that are models that are RGW. Pretty much dropped all our older resin sculpts. So if you go into a WAAAGH, Zagra, Wartsnacker, Gazgul, Thraka per dollar, and some of those fill up good points as well. A Mazrog Scrag Bag. These are not getting replaced. You can consider epic characters for any of those lines. And then, of course, you have the Beast Snagger line as a whole. So like I told you, Squig Hog Boys, or if you want to consider Kill Rigs, Beast Bosses on Squigosaurs, these are all newer models that came out in 9th edition. You also have the Kill Team, quote-unquote, box set releases. These have been released as individual boxes already. You have the Breaker Boys / Tank Buster Boys, right? So those are newer models that you can get that are not going to be getting replaced, as well as the Commandos. If you want to get one unit of Commandos, for example, and a Snickrot, who is also a newer model, that would be an also newer Kill Team box set release. And then, of course, last but not least, you have secondhand accounting. There's a lot of the times that you can get them on more boys or something, because maybe people got Armageddon boxes and they got too many boys and they don't need them anymore, or they're getting rid of their old ones. And you can still, quote unquote, guys, use old orc boys if you come across some of those in the Great Wild. If any models that you feel like using, as long as you're fine to rebase them and they're close in size comparison, you can transition them as well, and don't be worried about that. That's not necessarily frowned upon at all in 40K You don't have to have all the latest and greatest, newest things. So don't ever feel some type of way if you have old boys. I know personally, it'd be great if I'm gonna incorporate from my old boys and my new boys into 2 mobs, or I'm gonna have just the newest mob and he's gonna have all the buffs, for example. So don't be worried about having secondhand stuff. Look around for that. It'll actually work out for you, I promise. Before we jump back into the video, shout out to Monument Hobbies and their Pro Acryl paints. If you're an Ork player, you already know the pain of painting mobs of models, vehicles, bikers, walkers, too many lads at once. And that's why I like Pro Acryl. The paint is high quality, easy to work with, and comes with properly thin paint right out the bottle, which means less time fighting with your paints and more time getting your wall on the table. So whether you're a new Ork player and joining the Great Wall, or you're trying to finish another 20 gits before your event, and check out Pro Acryl paints from Monument Hobbies using my affiliate link in the description. It helps support the channel and no extra cost to you, because the faster you paint, the faster you wall. And then we move on to key units. So of course you want to take Battle Line, you want boys, you want Beast Snagga boys, and then Gretchen. All of those quote unquote Battle Line type models. Now I do know that with WAAAGH you can get Battle Line as well, but those are one of the kits that are maybe coming out newer. So we also have vehicles to consider / monsters. So kill rigs, like I already mentioned, for the Snagga lines. Mat guns are moderately kind of new and don't have any kind of inclination to or tips or suggestions that they're going to be getting swapped. We have heard some suggestions for the wagons, but even if you were to get wagons or trucks, those are models that you can duplicate, and GW seems to be keeping in close size comparison. We've seen, like, for example, the newest truck, it was close in size comparison to the old truck. That way that it's easy to have, integrate them into your armies without having to get rid of all your oldest kits. Then you have, as I said already, for epic characters. So Ghazghkull Thraka is a really big piece per dollar per points that you're going to get. Hopefully right now he has Mega boys that can go with him, but he's going to get Mega Knobs down the line. That's going to be great as well. You have fast quote unquote units that people will want. The fast units that are most likely to endure right now, of course, are buggies. Buggies are those newer kits. We hope they actually get really cool rules in the codex as well. Some buggies have movement shenanigans mechanisms, cool as well, and they're really nice, at least visually, though they do need help in their rule sets. As for Coptas, you can sometimes get those second hands. They were combat patrol heavy before. They're a newer set also. GW just came out with those newer sculpts of Coptas, and they're always nice for like battlefield kind of control and can help you bridge out into other archetypes if you were to move into these fast units that can also be supplement for DACA or scoring, or as a leader, like the Trike, where the Death Killer War Trike is a newer kit, came out kind of more with the buggies, though the bikes we know are going to come out. Maybe you don't want the old ones. You can start with the Trike. You can integrate how to play him, as there's tips and tricks how to play with him, like putting a 4-up Feel No Pain on him in Warhorde, or running him in a freebooted detachment, etc. He's a great model you can get. As for DACA, right now, the cleanest thing you want to get is a tank buster unit if you're not going into like a mech gun. Tank shock attack guns, for example, seem like they're staying as well. So those are newer kits, but as well as walkers, right? There's no reason why we think we're going to get new Morkanauts or Gorkanauts, or that we're not going to be able to use our Killicans, our Big Mac DACA rigs, our Death Dreads. Those all still seem to be staying, and they still look really awesome on the field. They did got some glow ups as well, as with like the Titanic models, and I think just integrating a couple of those into your list to fill out points and per dollar value also does help, especially when you're building out your collection. It's cool, and then hey, you never know, you might turn into a Big Mac, for example. Then last but not least, we have some different kind of elites. So the newer elites, as I said, were Breaker Boys, Squigs, Mandos, and units like that you can move into right now, build out your list while supplementing all these other units that we've talked about. And then as the newest knobs, Mega Knobs, Ludas, Burner Boys come out, you can start adding those into your army as well. So as we move forward and I actually go over the list that I'm going to share, right, I've taken all this into consideration and what I would try to do to make it the easiest on my money, but also able to play on the battlefield as I'm building up from 0 to 1K, and then from 1K to move into 2K. And it's still a cohesive force that makes sense, that is a somewhat simple game plan that can be altered as well if I was to come across, as I mentioned, secondhand lots or trades or something. We'll talk about those differences that we can bring in and throw in there as well as alternatives, because there's no really right or wrong. This is all just incentive to try to help you get your thing going and thinking it out so that it's more helpful to you. So now let's move into a 1K list using both the 10th edition Combat Patrol Box and the 11th edition Combat Patrol Box. The only other things you really have to consider getting would be the truck and the Beast Boss on Squigosaurus. So the Beast Boss on Squigosaurus is just one of his own kits, and then the truck is also another kit. It might even be newer if you're watching this video back, and you can actually get the newer one because we've already seen the reveal several weeks ago on that. So starting off, it's a Beast Boss on Squigosaur. In this 1,000 point list, we are using Warhorde / Freebooters that you could use it. We know that in the app right now it doesn't say you can use Warhorde because 3DP, but it is considered correct according to GW. They'll adjust that in the app. And Freebooter is the alternative if you were wanting to play just according to the 2DP or just wanted more diversity and rules. But all these units follow through with that. Like I said, attachment 1 unit is the Beast Boss. Beast Boss will follow me, lads. Of course, as stacks with Here We Go. And of course, if this was to move to the next edition with all the different detachments we're getting, all of these models will transition even into different archetype structures. Like Unit 2, where we have a War Boss and 10 basic boys. Unit 3, we have a Weird Boy and 10 boys. That way we can actually jump around the battlefield and start locking down objectives earlier or scoring them or threaten the enemy's home late game, for example. We have the Beast Boss on Squigosaur, Edwapus Kill Choppa. Of course, if you were to adjust any of these points, if there was maybe you didn't want the following 10 Snagger boys that are coming up, or you didn't want the Weird Boy, if you were to start adjusting any of these models, you could, of course, make a Maz instead of Beast Boss and Squigosaur. A quick tip that I would suggest as well is that when you get your Beast Boss and Squigosaur kit, you put a Maz magnet in the torso. If you were to build out, let's say, the Great White Squig, you can put a magnet in the torso, and you can have the top of Maz or the top of the Beast Boss on Squigosaur, and you can just swap them off easily. That way you have easy swappability into using either or, and you don't have to buy 2 different kits to try both different units when they're like the same. So really easy to do. I promise you, if you're going to get like 1 magnet and do it, it'll work. 1 big magnet or just a stack of a couple magnets. Totally worth it. I don't magnetize often. In this case, you should. But yes, Edwapus Kill Choppa, because of how awesome it can stack in either this in Warhorde, for example, and I want the Dev Wounds to go off to get bypassed invulns on big monsters, since I kind of got that one shot, one opportunity in this detachment, and I have the Beast Boss second helping with that. We have a secondary 10-man unit of Beast Snagger Boys after that big 4-man attached of brick pigs. We have the 10-man Snagger Boys from the kit. Of course, if you come across different models, you don't want to use this unit, it's okay. But on its own, it still works out in either detachment. It still punches really well. It takes multiple buffs really well too, and it moves into your 2K list as well. We have 1 basic truck to shuffle around one of those Beast Boss units or War Boss units. Of course, you can put one of these units into reserve, and then the Weird Boy can jump around on his own. So most of this list can be pretty safe as well as hidden with a little bit of speed from the War Track, and then Gretchen for your home field. So from this list, of course, you can alternate it as you deem from other things that we talked about. If you were going to swap, of course, bikers or storm boys or anything like that, you could consider, but this is how we're having it right now. And as for the 2K list, as we move on from there, right? So all the other thing took you was about 4 purchases. Now this one is 2 combat patrols and like some long-term investment of models that you should consider that are good for you in your collection outright, and then a little bit of alternatives. So for unit 1 attachment, we have Gazgul Thraka. I have a banner knob. Now I know a Pain Boy is definitely better per meta. Right now, we don't know how much of a nerf or point increase they're going to get, so I just felt like going this kind of for safety, but also I feel like it's going to be very easy secondhand for getting banner knobs if you're someone that wants to get an additional character, maybe down the lane as well. He's good for holding the enhancement on Gaz's unit, but of course, the Pain Boy is more meta, so if you want to do that with any kind of tweaks, do the Pain Boy. He's definitely sick. Definitely better than the banner knob, but I mentioned him for fun, and I do not hate the banner knob. But 20 boys in gas is just amazing in Warhorde or Freebooters. We have secondary attachment unit is another Beast Boss with Beast Snagger Boys, which again works on either of these We have a third unit attached as a war boss and a breakaboy. So that's another model kit that you would acquire that's new, that just came out, will be long lasting, really good for breaking enemy hulls, demon and stuff like that. The one of our newest damage 3, and it looked like from the sneaking leaks we've seen from the detachment that there is a specific one for breakaboys, right? So that seems great. Then for unit attached 4 would be the Beast Boss and Squigosaur with Edwampa Skill Choppa, same combo from the 1K list. I want those dev wounds. I want a whole bunch of those. So when I either land the big combo from Warhorde, and then if I was to go to Freebooter, maybe I would swap this for Maz and take some alternatives for points. Then last but not least, we have characters. WAAAGH Daka Gutsmack. He's a newer kit as well. A very obvious, fantastic model. The Weird Boy from the Combat Patrols will be playing alone. So he could be running around doing secondaries, jumping around the field, or you can just drop him all in all and do different alternative adjustments to this list. The 10-man unit to Snagas. In reality, guys, I could even suggest that you put this into a 20-man brick, and this list could end up turning into a hunt list. So that's a different kind of conversation, but there could be the hunt list with def roll and def if you want to build it out to that. But that's another conversation for down the line of videos down the line. But the 10 Snagga Boys do work out really well too for taking hold, but you can throw them on the brick of Beast Boss, and now you have 2 big bricks on the field. Would work very well for your taking a hold. We have a truck that's going to work around for moving the SWAT team around. So the War Boss with the Breaker Boys and the Flash Kits are going to be a SWAT team. 2 Gretchen units for your home field or helping with the take and hold. Then we have 2 kill rigs. Kill rigs could either use for transporting these beast bosses, or you can end up taking a knot or a wagon. You can alternate it for any of those units as well, because those are all kits that are going to be lasting around and still be good for just having in your collection. Last but not least, you still have your war track because he was in your combat patrol. So this was only about an additional 5 or 6, not additional, sorry, altogether about 5 or 6 purchases, right? You'd get 2 combat patrols, you get a Breaker Boy box, you get the Beast Boss on Squigosaur box. You would either get a knot or 2 kill rigs, and then a truck, followed by a flash kit, which is pretty flexible. You don't have to get him, but there's no indication he's going to be dropped or anything model. So all in all, it's about 8 purchases from what I understand, and that should get you started and able to adjust and move into any different archetype. So stick with WAAAGH Tactics to figure out how that goes in our next edition. And there's always one thing to keep in mind is don't cross our wall, because we'll knock your teeth out. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!